Hello, thank you for listening. My name is Chen Liwei, and I want to tell you a story from a time when I was just 24 years old. Before the war, my world was logical. It had straight lines and right angles. It smelled of wet mortar and the sharp scent of clay dust after a rain. I was a bricklayer in Changsha, you see. My hands understood the simple, honest truth of a well-laid wall. Each brick has its place. Each layer supports the one above it. You build from a solid foundation, and you create something that can withstand the wind and the rain, something that gives shelter. I believed that any problem, any break, could be fixed if you just understood its structure. You just had to find the weak point, replace the broken stone, and make it strong again. I thought a tank was the same, a moving fortress, a wall of steel. The war taught me that some walls are built with more than just stone and mortar. People ask what it was like to be trapped in that city, in that siege. They expect a grand answer about courage, but for me, on that suffocating summer day in Hengyang, it wasn't about courage. It began, as all collapses do, with a single structural failure. A sound that my hands understood better than my ears, the shriek of metal giving way. The air inside the M3 Stuart was thick enough to drink. It was a cocktail of hot metal, diesel fumes, and the sour sweat of 5 men crammed into a space not meant for breathing. Outside, Hengyang was burning. The world was a constant, deafening roar, but through the steel plates of our tank it was muted. A dull, percussive symphony of explosions and the incessant chatter of machine guns. The only rhythm that mattered was the one beneath us, the rhythmic, clattering heartbeat of the tracks. Clack, 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 the sound of movement, the sound of life. It was our steel heart pumping us forward through streets that had become rivers of rubble. I was the driver. My world was a narrow slit of churning dust and smoke. My commander, Sergeant Wu, was a phantom voice in my ear, a stream of directions that I translated into the language of levers and pedals. Left Liwei, skirt that crater. Infantry on our flank, give them cover. My bricklayer's mind saw the city not as a place of homes and shops, but as a series of collapsing structures. A building with its spine broken by a bomb was just a pile of poorly stacked bricks. A barricade was a temporary wall, destined to fail. Our tank was the only solid thing in this disintegrating world. We were the keystone. As long as we moved, the line held. The infantry clustered around us like children clinging to their mother's robes. We were their shield, their moving wall, and a wall must not fall. Clack, 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 clack. The rhythm was steady. We pushed past the skeletal remains of a tea house, its sign hanging by a single hinge. Japanese machine gun fire stitched lines of dust across its facade. Our own gun answered, a short, hammering burst that silenced the enemy weapon. We were doing it, we were holding. Then came the sound. It wasn't the familiar crump of a mortar or the whistle of a shell. It was something more intimate, more violent. A sound that traveled not through the air, but through the very bones of our tank. A blinding white flash to my right, a deafening clang like a giant's hammer striking an anvil the size of a mountain, and then a lurch so violent it slammed my head against the vision port. The world outside tilted crazily. The tank shuddered, groaned, and died. The heartbeat was gone. The rhythmic clack, clack, clack was replaced by a sudden, terrifying silence. A silence that was immediately filled by the outside world, now screaming in our ears. The sounds of battle weren't muffled anymore. They were right there, on top of us. We were exposed. Status. Wu's voice was tight, strained. Engines running, our mechanic yelled from the back. I pushed the throttle. The engine roared, a useless, impotent scream. The tank didn't move. I tried again, nothing, just a slight, sickening pivot to the left. The track, Liwei, checked the right track. My blood went cold. The fear, it wasn't an emotion, it was a physical thing. A taste of hot iron in my mouth. A cold liquid pouring through my veins, being trapped, my greatest fear. A steel box was a fortress when it moved. When it stopped, it was a coffin. An oven waiting for the flame. I could almost feel the heat, smell the burning paint, hear the screams of men cooked alive. It was the nightmare of every tanker. It's no good, Sergeant. I choked out, my voice a stranger's. She won't grip. The right track, I think it's broken. The silence inside the tank was now worse than the noise outside. We were a rock in a raging river, and the water was rising. The staccato pop, pop, pop of Arasaka rifles grew closer. I could hear the thud of grenades against our hull. The infantry we were protecting were now protecting us, fighting with a desperate fury to keep the Japanese from swarming over our crippled machine. They're bringing up a Type 97, Wu said, his voice grim. He was peering through his periscope. A Kaiha, they know we're stuck. We have maybe 10 minutes before they turn us into a stove. 10 minutes, an eternity, a blink of an eye. Liwei Wu's voice was quiet now. You were a builder, can you fix it? Everyone looked at me. 4 pairs of terrified eyes in the gloom. The question hung in the thick, oily air. Can you fix it? Can you rebuild this wall? My thoughts were stripped gears, grinding uselessly against the panic. My fear was a physical weight, pressing me down.